Have you ever heard about the rap group that spent more time in courtrooms than actually creating music in the studio? Back in 2022, JoeyAK, along with Bigidagoe, took rapper Kobus L hostage and demanded a ransom of 50,000 euros. This wasn't just a fictional story from a rap song, it was the harsh reality. Today, we delve deep into the shadowy world of Zone 6, where the distinction between artistic expression and criminal activity was entirely obscured. From successful rappers to feared criminals, discover how these childhood friends from Amsterdam Zuid-Oost led a double life that would eventually end fatally for one of them. The oppressive reality of the streets of Holendrecht shaped two boys who would later grow to become prominent faces in the Dutch rap scene. Joel Eltis Hoop, better known as JoeyAK, was born on January 7, 1997 in Amsterdam. Just 5 months later, on June 10th of that year, Denzel Joel Silos was born, who would become known as Bigidagoe. It was no accident that both were raised in the same underprivileged neighborhood, where daily encounters with poverty and crime shaped their perspectives and artistic identities. Holendrecht, in Amsterdam Zuidoost, was a challenging place to grow up. The neighborhood was notorious for social issues, with many youths facing limited opportunities and future prospects. For JoeyAK and Bigidagoe, the street was both a tough learning ground and an inspiration for their musical careers. Their childhood experiences in this setting would later echo in their raw, unrefined rap style. JoeyAK's journey to musical success followed an unconventional path. During one of his periods in detention, he began writing lyrics in earnest. What began as a way to pass the time transformed into a passion that would change his life. Crucial to this development was meeting actor Peter Faber, whose foundation supported detainees in their creative development. Faber saw potential in the young rapper and arranged for JoeyAK to have access to beats and recording facilities, essential tools that helped him further develop his talent behind prison walls. As JoeyAK honed his skills, other young people from Holendrecht also began to find their voices through music. What began as loose friendships and collaborations eventually crystallized into the formation Zone 6. The group provided a platform where the boys could share their experiences, frustrations, and ambitions could be channeled into creative expression. Their early songs were raw, unpolished depictions of daily life, stories of street life, survival in a hostile environment, and the dance between legality and crime. November 2017 marked a turning point for JoeyAK's career with the release of Touchdown, a collaboration with established Dutch rap names, Jonna Fraser and Seven Alias. The song exploded like a bomb, reaching the 30th position in the Dutch Single Top 100. This achievement marked his breakthrough into the mainstream music scene. The recognition came not only from fans, but also from the music industry itself, which could no longer overlook his genuine talent and unique sound. 2 months later, in January 2018, JoeyAK solidified his position with the release of his debut EP titled Lieutenant. The project climbed to 5th place in the Dutch album Top 100, a remarkable feat for an artist who had been working entirely unnoticed. The EP validated what many believed. JoeyAK was more than a one-hit wonder, but an artist with a distinct vision and sound. That year, Bigidagoe also had his major breakthrough during a session at the popular platform 101 Bars, where he performed with the other members of Zone 6. His charismatic performance and distinctive flow immediately stood out, setting him apart from his peers. This session not only catapulted Bigidagoe's career, but also strengthened Zone 6's position as a collective in the Dutch hip-hop scene. JoeyAK and Bigidagoe's music was peppered with references to their lives on the streets. Their raps covered themes like money, violence, and loyalty. Not as made-up stories, but as true reflections of their daily lives. This authenticity deeply connected with their audience, particularly young people from similar disadvantaged areas who saw their own experiences and struggles in the lyrics. As their music careers took off, the allure of their past life stayed. Despite their growing success and increasing opportunities in the music industry, both JoeyAK and Bigidagoe maintained their ties to the streets. This created a fascinating duality in their lives. On the one hand, they were rising rap stars performing on stages and giving interviews. On the other, they remained connected to the underworld they had tried to escape through music. For numerous young individuals hailing from disadvantaged neighborhoods, JoeyAK and Bigidagoe embodied the ultimate example of triumph against all odds. They successfully transitioned from being street youth facing challenges to becoming respected artists, thus becoming role models for an entire generation, yearning for hope and representation. Their music provided a voice to those who often felt unheard in the broader society. Behind their aura of musical success, JoeyAK and Bigidagoe hid a world much darker than their fans could have suspected. Although their clips collected millions of views and their music was streamed nationwide, there was a shadow economy that financed their extravagant lifestyle. A world that had little to do with record stores and streaming services, but everything to do with international drug lines and organized crime. The authorities identified Zone 6 as more than just a rap group. It was seen as a criminal organization led by JoeyAK and Bigidagoe. This group was linked to some of Holland's infamous cocaine smugglers, like Bola Jos and Piet Wortel. These ties provided the rappers with amounts of money that were difficult to justify, even with a successful music career. The extravagance of their lifestyle was blatantly apparent. In nearly every music video, they proudly wore designer outfits from luxury brands like Gucci, Balenciaga, and Louis Vuitton. Their wrists were embellished with watches worth tens of thousands of euros, and gold chains sparkled around their necks. What stood out the most, however, were the stacks of cash that frequently appeared. Bundles of hundreds displayed nonchalantly, as if it was the most ordinary thing. When questioned about where the money came from, the response was always, their music. However, the prosecution claimed JoeyAK was only sharing part of the truth. Beneath his music career facade, he was supposedly running a profitable drug trade, making millions. This earnings model appeared much less risky than it actually was. What adds to the grimness of the story is how Zone 6 functioned. The group leveraged its status and prestige within the Holendrecht neighborhood to recruit young children. These minors were involved in one of the most perilous aspects of the drug trade, which was extracting cocaine from containers located in the ports of Rotterdam and Antwerp. Boys who had just finished high school ended up becoming the initial cogs in a vast international drug machine. The situation became so serious that the police decided on an unprecedented action. Officers went door to door in Holendrecht to warn parents about Zone 6's recruitment tactics. They explained the group's modus operandi. First, young people were seduced with small amounts of money and brand-name clothing, only to use them for increasingly serious criminal activities. Once taken, a step into this world often proved difficult to reverse. Laundering the criminal profits was an ongoing process. JoeyAK allegedly used girlfriends to hide large sums of cash, according to prosecutors. The money was hidden in rolling suitcases, designer bags, and even mattresses. A way to keep the black money out of sight of authorities, but always within reach when needed. Police investigations into Zone 6 regularly found firearms. These weapons were not only props for cool video clips, but turned out to be actually used. Members of the group were involved in several incidents of violence, which only increased police and judicial pressure on Zone 6. Authorities increasingly realized that Zone 6's music was not just an artistic expression, but also a platform to glorify their criminal activities and attract new recruits. This led to an unusual move. The government petitioned YouTube to shut down Zone 6's channel, an attempt to limit the group's influence and stop the glamorization of their criminal lifestyle. Indeed, the glorification of this lifestyle was exactly what made Zone 6 so dangerous. For disadvantaged youth from Holendrecht and similar neighborhoods, JoeyAK and Bigidagoe were living examples of how to make it. The rappers displayed a world of unlimited opulence, designer clothes, expensive cars, exclusive watches, and suggested that this world was available to all. What they did not show were the risks, the constant threat of violence, arrests, and lengthy prison sentences. What their music ostensibly romanticized was in reality a harsh, ruthless criminal enterprise. While their music videos garnered millions of views, in the shadows were young children risking their lives in docks. There were families that were torn apart by arrests, and communities that were suffering from the violence that was inextricably linked to the drug trade. The line between artistic expression and criminal reality became completely blurred on September 3, 2022, when 9 members of Zone 6 gathered at a car wash in Duivendrecht. What happened there would cross a line even for the most hardened criminals. Within hours, a fellow rapper turned from rival to victim in a case that would shock all of Holland. Underlying the kidnapping was a dormant conflict between JoeyAK and rapper Kobus L. The exact cause remained unclear, but there were rumors in the rap scene that it stemmed from insults and provocations on social media. However, what began as a typical rap beef escalated into a carefully prepared fallout. That September day, Kobus L was lured to the car wash in Duivendrecht. He had no idea that JoeyAK, Bigidagoe, and 7 other members of Zone 6 were waiting for him there. What he presumably thought would be a meeting turned into a nightmare when he was forced into a Mercedes Vito van. The balance of power became immediately clear when he had to hand over his Rolex, phone, and Louis Vuitton bag to his captors. Once in the van, an hours-long terrifying journey through the Netherlands started. The route went from Amsterdam to The Hague, as Kobus was held at gunpoint and warned, "If you don't cooperate, I'll shoot you." The threats grew more severe, including, "I'm going to cut off your fingers." What might be seen as tough talk and rap lyrics had now turned into a harsh reality for the victim. The situation grew increasingly perilous when the kidnappers reached out to Kobus's friends. They demanded a ransom of 50,000 euros and made it abundantly clear that they were not afraid to resort to murder if the payment was not received. As they traveled across the Netherlands, the kidnappers awaited the ransom, but events would soon take an unforeseen turn. When the van halted in Holendrecht, Kobus saw an opportunity. In a desperate attempt to escape, he fled the vehicle. However, his escape attempt was short-lived. The kidnappers quickly caught up with him, and what followed was a brutal beating. They beat him with a piece of wood, an assault so loud that nearby residents became alarmed and called the police. This phone call would eventually be Kobus's salvation, but also the beginning of a complex court case. Following his escape, Kobus reported him to the police, leading to a major investigation. In October 2022, just a month after the kidnapping, JoeyAK, Bigidagoe, and 7 other Zone 6 members were arrested. The investigation uncovered an array of evidence, including camera footage, phone records, and a recorded conversation discussing the kidnapping. Despite the overwhelming evidence, JoeyAK and his co-defendants maintained that they were innocent. They claimed that Kobus had voluntarily joined the bus and suggested that he would be jealous of their success. "He wanted to get into music with me," JoeyAK stated, while denying having used violence during the incident. The court saw the case quite differently. After carefully reviewing the evidence, the court concluded that there was a clear plan to kidnap Kobus, and that JoeyAK had a leading role in the hostage-taking. The prosecution demanded sentences ranging from 4 to 7 years, with the heaviest sentence for JoeyAK. Bigidagoe also faced a prison sentence of 4 years. The kidnapping of Kobus L marked a turning point in the history of Zone 6. What until then had been a story of street boys finding a way out of a slum through rap music turned into a criminal saga that dominated the front pages. The case raised fundamental questions about the interconnectedness of rap culture and crime in the Netherlands. For fans of Zone 6, it was hard to fathom that their idols were capable of such acts. Many wondered where artistic expression ended and criminal reality began. Were the violent lyrics in their music merely art, or a reflection of a willingness to engage in actual violence? The issue of where the boundary between words and actions lies received a horrifying answer on New Year's Eve 2019. JoeyAK abruptly stopped his performance in Suriname and returned to the Netherlands. This sudden return was not due to a family emergency or a contractual duty, but rather something far more sinister. A plot to abduct a woman he believed had stolen 100,000 euros from him. The incident shows the disturbing reality behind the shining facade of his rap career. While fans cheered him on stage, JoeyAK was willing to drop everything for violent retribution. After returning to the Netherlands, he kidnapped the woman and carried out a brutal torture. He hit her 9 times with a firearm and even went so far as to pour boiling water over her body. A particularly horrifying detail is that her children, ages 3 and 7, were in the same building during this torture, no doubt traumatized by the events. The cruel treatment of the woman eventually led to JoeyAK's arrest in January 2020. Although he himself maintained he was innocent of the abuse and claimed to have only been present in the house, the judge ruled otherwise. For his part in the kidnapping, he was sentenced to a prison term of 2 years and 8 months. Despite his public denials and his lawyer's claims that the media unfairly portrayed him as a criminal, the evidence against him was overwhelming. It was precisely during these periods of incarceration that JoeyAK often found inspiration for his music. Ironically, this gave his songs an additional layer of authenticity that resonated with his fans. His lyrics, penned from a cell, turned the raw reality of his criminal life into art with millions of streams. This paradox, prison as creative fuel, embodied his 2 worlds. For Bigidagoe, the cost of this double life was high. On August 25, 2020, he was shot in Amsterdam's Rivierenbuurt, an incident that nearly cost him his life. Where most people might decide to choose a different path after such an experience, Bigidagoe chose to turn his injuries into artistic capital. From his hospital bed, he recorded the music video for his song Op Blazin', in which he directly responded to the attempt on his life. The clip, in which Bigidagoe openly displayed his injuries, became a sensation. Millions of views flowed in, and the song got remixes from other top artists. It highlights how he skillfully blended his personal trauma with his musical persona. The shooting, instead of a warning, turned into a marketing tool that boosted his street credibility and musical reputation. These cycles of violence, imprisonment, musical inspiration, and commercial success illustrate the complex symbiosis between their criminal activities and their artistic careers. For both JoeyAK and Bigidagoe, their experiences with violence and justice were not obstacles to their music, but rather the fuel that strengthened their authenticity and increased their appeal. However, the constant threat of violence and arrests took a heavy psychological toll. They lived with the constant tension of rival gangs, police raids, and the knowledge that their next performance could just be their last. JoeyAK even performed while wearing an ankle bracelet around his ankle. It was a physical symbol representing the restrictions his double life brought, yet it also served as a badge of honor within the subculture he operated in. Their lifestyle demanded a mental split. On one hand, they were artists giving interviews, signing contracts, and performing for thousands of fans. On the other hand, they were deeply involved in kidnappings, acts of violence, and drug trafficking. This constant shift between two identities, the artist and the criminal, must have had a devastating effect on their psyches. This mental split between artist and criminal would eventually lead to a fatal reckoning. But was it really Bigidagoe who should have died that conscious February night? Or was he just an accidental victim in a larger conflict? In the late hours of February 24, 2024, Bigidagoe was in high spirits. He was enjoying the exclusivity of the VIP area at a party center on Roneweg in Amsterdam West, surrounded by friends and fans. The music was loud, the liquor flowed copiously, and the atmosphere was exuberant. No one could guess that these would be the last moments the rapper could enjoy his status and fame carefree. Around 5:30 in the morning, Bigidagoe decided to leave the party. What began as a normal night out inside suddenly turned into a nightmare outside. A seemingly trivial altercation over a necklace got completely out of hand. When Bigidagoe stepped outside, he was met by a group of youths. Tension quickly rose, and what began as a heated discussion escalated into violence within minutes. Amid the chaos, a 20-year-old man, later identified as Charon S., pulled out a firearm. Without hesitation, he opened fire on Bigidagoe, who was hit by multiple bullets. As bystanders fled in panic, the rapper was left severely wounded on the cold ground in front of the party center. He was rushed to the hospital, but the injuries were too severe. What began as a party night ended with the death of one of the Amsterdam scene's best-known rappers. What makes this tragedy even more complex is that there are indications that Bigidagoe may not even have been the intended target. According to sources close to the investigation, he may have been standing in front of someone else during the shooting. A bizarre twist of fate that illustrates how thin the line between life and death can be in the world in which he engaged. A world where a simple argument over a necklace can escalate into a deadly tragedy within seconds. After the shooting, the perpetrator, Charon S., immediately fled. He tried to leave the country, and was eventually apprehended at the Paris airport on February 20th, as he was about to flee to French Guiana. His desperate attempt to flee shows how aware he was of the seriousness of his act and the consequences that awaited him. Bigidagoe's death literally set Amsterdam ablaze. On the night of February 27 to 28, 2 days after the fatal shooting, several locations in the capital were rocked by explosions. On the walls near these attacks, one word was chalked that made the intentions of the perpetrators unequivocally clear: war. Amsterdam held its breath for what appeared to be a bloody revenge campaign. The police immediately saw a connection between these explosions and Bigidagoe's murder. The reprisals were attributed to members of Zone 6 who wanted to avenge the loss of their friend. But according to insiders, there was more to it. The explosions were not merely retaliation for Bigidagoe's death, but a new chapter in a long-running feud between Zone 6 and their rivals from Boats Music, another Amsterdam-based rap group. A conflict that had been smoldering for years was now erupting in full force. From his prison cell, JoeyAK reacted emotionally to the loss of his friend and fellow artist. In a moving audio message later shared, he said, "My heart bleeds. A young nigga has been crying for days." The pain in his voice was unmistakable, a vulnerable side that contrasted with the hardened image he cultivated in his music and on the streets. In his message, he emphasized the importance of Bigidagoe's name and legacy, promising that his friend would never be forgotten. Bigidagoe's murder not only aroused emotions among his relatives and friends, but also caused great concern among the authorities. The fear of an escalation of violence in the Amsterdam underworld was real. In that sense, the explosions with the word war were more than symbolic. They were a declaration of war that heralded further violent confrontations. The tragedy of Zone 6 shows how the boundary between art and crime can completely fade away. What began as an outlet for street experiences became, for JoeyAK and Bigidagoe, a cycle in which their music glorified their criminal realities and vice versa. Criminologists point to the disturbing impact on youth in disadvantaged neighborhoods, where these rappers act as role models and normalize violence. This tragedy forces us to reflect. Can youth from neighborhoods like Holendrecht find success without getting stuck in destructive patterns? The influence of street rappers is undeniable, but alternatives remain crucial. Initiatives that offer future prospects beyond street life break what eventually became a fatal spiral for JoeyAK and Bigidagoe. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.